some important points about non-suicidal self-injury here from the Cornell group that studies non-suicidal self-injury. 25% of those who engage in NSSI have only one episode. Okay, so there's a subset of people who may only engage in non-suicidal self-injury one time. Um, Average age of onset is 15 years of age, and the majority of people stop within 5 years of starting an SSI. Okay, so just some statistics there about non-suicidal self-injury. So Karen asks, so do you inform the teen to anticipate the cycle? I think that can be part of psychoeducation about non-suicidal self-injury. I think the only caution there would be, that we don't want to set somebody up for, if we look at that statistic that 25% of people stop after one time, we wouldn't want to set somebody up to go there. But if a person does, if the person's self-harm does already have that sort of cyclical nature to it, I think helping uh, kids and their families to understand the cyclical nature of it can be really helpful. So yeah, that would be uh, that. Deborah asks, what causes a person to stop NSSI? I think a variety of things. Treatment is one. Sometimes, people on their own without treatment decide to stop the behavior for various reasons. Maybe they don't like the scars. I've heard that before. Friends don't like me doing it. Parents don't like me doing it. That kind of thing. There are self-help um, resources online. One source being the Cornell website that was on the previous slide. If you Google Cornell University self-injury and recovery resources, that website will come up. There are self-help types of things on there, and um, you can access those. And some young people access those on their own and maybe stop their self-harm due to that. So yeah, variety of reasons why people would stop that behavior. Um, Throughout the afternoon, we're going to have some case examples here. Um, just to a couple of reasons for the case examples. One is to show us kind of how uh, the issue might present itself, and two, to sort of introduce us to a uh, tool that we could use to measure and assess. Okay, so Marcus is a 17-year-old male. He is diagnosed with ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and disruptive mood dysregulation disorder. He bangs his head on the bleachers at school when he doesn't play well on the basketball team. He has recently started burning himself with erasers in his room at night. He is clear that he doesn't want to die. So the burning of the self with erasers, the burning of the self with erasers is uh, uh, taking an eraser and rubbing it very strongly on the skin and causing a burn. So that is friction, and is fairly common. Yeah. So we're going to look at the SOARS model for assessing non-suicidal self-injury. This was developed by physicians to quickly assess for non-suicidal self-injury. The therapist is going to be this speech bubble on the left here, so that's what the therapist is going to say. And Marcus, our young person, our 17-year-old, is going to be the one on the right here. Okay. So the therapist says, have you ever hurt yourself on purpose without intending to end your life or attempt suicide, like cutting, biting, burning, or hitting? Marcus says, sometimes I bang my head on the bleachers when I don't play well, and recently I've been burning myself with erasers in my room at night. Okay. The therapist says, I know self injury isn't usually about suicide, but some people may think about suicide when they self injure. Do you ever think about purposely ending your life when you self injure? Marcus says, no way, I don't want to die. Therapist says, when was the first time you self injured and when was the most recent time? Marcus says, I started at the beginning of the school year when I wasn't playing well on the basketball team. I burned myself with an eraser last night. Therapist says, how many times a week or a month do you self injure? Marcus says, I do it every day right now. I'm not going to lie. Therapist says, what do you typically use or do? Marcus says, I bang my head on the bleachers pretty hard and I use those erasers that are square shaped. Therapist says, how do you take care of the wounds afterward? Marcus says, I take medicine for the headaches and I put band-aids on the burns. Therapist says, have you ever hurt yourself so badly that you needed medical attention, even if you never got it? Marcus says, no, not really. Therapist says, it sounds like this has been helpful for you. What does it do for you? In what ways does it help? Marcus says, I get so mad at myself sometimes, I just feel like I need a way to punish myself when I'm bad. It also helps me feel something when I'm empty. The therapist asks, what is this something you'd like to stop? Marcus says, yeah, I mean, my mom wants me to stop. I kind of like it though. The therapist asks, have you ever considered stopping? Marcus says, yeah, sometimes I wish I had another way of dealing with stuff. Okay, so we will that's the SOARS model sort of in practice. We're going to come back to SOARS when we talk about assessment and talk more about what it is. But that just gives you a quick sort of example of how we might do a very initial assessment with somebody on their self about their self harm.